Game 5 is tonight, the NBA Finals. By the way, the Pacers are on the road. And I say, by the way, because the number is still kind of staggering. A 9.5-point underdog against SGA and the Thunder. Let's bring in our boy, Kevin Hall. Kevin Hall, All Indiana Sports is the show. You can check him out on the Rogue Media Network. Kev, what's happening, dude?
Hey, man, how's it going? Sorry I couldn't join you in person today.
What the hell's going on? I can't get to see your face and those long locks of yours?
Oh, man, you know what? Gotta do what we gotta do. I heard that you started off the show with the fever and the Caitlin Clark. We talk about that on our show with my wife, incidentally. She's got some pretty unique takes on that and Angel Reese and all that, so check that out as well if you need your Caitlin Clark effect fixed.
Dude, I mean, I do, so I'll check it out. I'm to a point where I really can't get enough, and I think it's just a super interesting story, and she's a phenomenal just torchbearer for the WNBA and women's basketball. But I got you here to talk about the dudes, and tonight your team is a 9.5-point underdog. How do you feel about that as a fan and as somebody who watches these games and prognosticates? Like, it's tied 2-2. That's a lot of points, man.
Yes. Well, okay. So the history says that the road team is completely toast if you're 2-2 at this point. No team has come back in the finals, and no road team has come back from a 2-2 point at this point in the finals. Plus, the Thunder do what they do, and they don't lose back-to-back. But guess what? The Pacers haven't lost back-to-back in the playoffs thus far. But at this point, something's got to give. And that something would either be the Pacers win tonight, or they got to win at home and then Game 7. It doesn't hurt that the Thunder had the extender come in and help them out a little bit.
Scott Foster.
I mean, he was Tim Donaghy's right-hand man, and I heard that he got called Tim Donaghy by a fan and kicked him out of the game. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not.
I mean, those dudes were really tight. Either they were best buddies or they were sharing information. They would talk before every single game. Like,
yep,
you could guarantee it, right? Like the sun coming up. So there's
exactly.
There's some stuff there. So when you look at the Pacers, and last game, I think honestly, Kev, if the Pacers do fall in this series, that's one that all Pacers fans, even me, as somebody who watches with such an interested eye, you shouldn't have lost that game, but you did. That was so winnable. You're at home. You're up late. And Tyrese Halliburton was pretty cool post-game talking about, I love the guy. He was like, hey, that's why you love playing in series and why you love basketball. Next, we got another shot at these guys. What do the Pacers have to do to recover and shake off any PTSD from that Friday night game?
You talk about PTSD, it does seem like that game had shadows of what happened in the Eastern Conference Finals last year against the Celtics, where they just couldn't hold on to the lead late. It seems like this team is better suited to come from behind. We've seen them come from behind in so many instances throughout the playoffs, but that's been in single games. Now they're essentially having to come from behind. Even though the series is tied, they no longer have any advantage at this point as far as home games, so they're kind of having to come from behind as in the series as a whole, which they haven't had to do thus far in the playoffs. The answer is simple. Keep the pace going, keep running, keep playing good team, unselfish basketball. You got to get to the paint and kick, and the real formula that Liam pointed out even before the series started was you got to get to 110 or more, and Tyrese Halliburton has to have a double-double. That is the key to success. They are undefeated when that happens. They are completely defeated if they don't hit 110 at all.
So another number, that's a great nugget right there, by the way. Another number, props to my man Liam. Another number is they're 33-4 this year when Halliburton scores more than 20 points. But at the same time, like, you don't want him to press, right? How, in your mind, is it best that he approaches a game of tonight's magnitude? Does he have to, because we saw it a little bit in Game 3, which they won. I mean, even though he wasn't totally successful early on, he was running and gunning, right? And he was getting involved almost by design, it seemed like. Obviously being aggressive is important, but how would you like to see him approach tonight's game?
You still got to be the general on the court. You still got to facilitate. You can't be ISO like he was so much in the fourth quarter. I feel like they really felt the pressure unnecessarily, too much, too early. And I think some of that came from maybe some of the calls that slowed the pace down, but that's no excuse. Mathurin missed 3 in a row at the free throw line. You can't use the lack of pace or flow to shut down a game, and that's the simple fact of what happened in Game 4. So you got to continue to play your game. Don't let the Thunder come in and enforce anything on you. You have to still play your game at all costs. Win or lose, you want to go off the court saying, well, we did our best and played the best game that we could collectively as a team. And it's Tyrese's team to run. He meets with Rick Carlisle on a regular basis. In my opinion, one of the greatest X's and O's coach. Actually, that's Popovich's quote to Rick Carlisle. And so it's Tyrese's job to run it on the floor. So he's got to run it.
All right, I got another one for you, and you kind of touched on it, but I was planning on asking you this next. All things being equal and us being transparent, before last game, I took the Pacers were still an underdog in the series. So I was like, you know what? Let me put some couple shekels on the Pacers to win the series. I still feel, I still feel pretty good about it. And one of the reasons I do is because of Rick Carlisle. Like in a series like this, where we have 3 games left, and everybody gets a little tense, a little tight. That's a dude, and this is not a knock on Mark Daigneault. This is a dude that just is terribly underrated, I think, as one of the great coaches in the NBA. How does Rick Carlisle put his thumbprints on these final 3 games, or maybe 2, right, if the Pacers get hot? But how does he have an impact, right, like as a coach, a dramatic one that will allow his team to win? How does he show just how good he is? Because they need him like almost like a 6th guy on the floor,
Right. I think Rick Carlisle is the type of guy that he plays chess while everybody else is playing checkers. And if you're playing chess, he's playing Chinese checkers. Whatever the one up, he is trying to out-gamesmanship you. And that starts with game 1, and it continues all the way through. So I expect to see some subtle changes with lineup and rotations as these games go on, because I wouldn't put it past Rick to be setting Mark Daigneault up in some way, shape, or form. I think that Rick Carlisle fully expected him to go 2 bigs in game 4, and he's going to do something off of that because he was setting Mark up. That's just how Rick Carlisle coaches. He plays the long game, and he plays chess while you're playing checkers.
Yeah, like if I'm you guys, and I feel like I am one of you guys because I mentioned, I'm all in now on the Pacers. That is one kind of wild card deal that I feel very good about. Something I feel, maybe isn't talked about enough with all the pomp and circumstance with the SGA and the Halliburton. The last question for you, what are you most fearful for tonight from the Thunder? And of course, SGA picking up where he left off last game would spell serious trouble for the Pacers. But outside of that, what's your biggest fear tonight that the Thunder would come out and do and really put handcuffs on you guys?
I think the biggest said from before the series, SGA is going to do SGA stuff. There's not a whole lot you can do about that. They've played Nembhard in particular really tough defense. They've done a really good job of pressuring him on the outside, and then when he gets to the lane, they'll back off because they know he wants the call. But then it's the role players. You shut down the role players, and you can't win it by one person alone, and that's the key. That's the thing that scares me is if the role players, specifically Chet, but even more so like some of these other guys, if they have another big game like Aaron Wiggins or Wallace, some of these lesser known, if Dort can get on a hot streak from 3, That's the thing that would concern me from the Pacers' perspective.
All right, I lied. One more. How are we going to wrap up this series? What? Give me the outcome of this series.
All right. Well, Liam said Pacers in 6. I said Pacers in 7. So if the Pacers are going to win it, they have to do something that the Thunder have been able to hold back since before Thanksgiving, and that is win back-to-back games against the Thunder. And honestly, at this point, I think it's hard-pressed for you to say that the Pacers are going to win the series at this point. But if they do, it will cap the most historic Cinderella playoff run of all time. And I know Scotty's going to love that I said that.
Scotty loves it. Scotty, anything you want to say, by the way? I mean, okay, Scotty's good. We got to go. We're up against time. Kevin Hall. I can't thank you enough, dude. I mean, the podcast, the show is all Indiana sports, and they are all in. Okay, so you're the man. I love, by the way, your name's Kevin Hall because it reminds me of the old wrestling days, like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. You're kind of combining the two of them, which I appreciate. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate Liam. And we'll say go Pacers for tonight. All right, brother?
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Pete.
All right, that's Kevin Hall. Man, that was good stuff. I feel like he's coming right off the bench with the Pacers and getting us caught up.